Hi, everybody. What does it mean to be a disciple? You often hear this term used in Christianity to refer to followers of Jesus, but, how can you literally follow a God around if God is spirit, as the New Testament says? That doesn't really make sense. How can you follow an invisible spirit? So, what are you really following? A man? You know? Or are you following your understanding? That's how I look at what a disciple is. Now, I'm not a Christian, but my understanding of what a disciple is someone who follows, the teachings that make sense to them, that they believe. So, the question is then what are the legitimate teachings to follow? Now, I'm not so sure that Christianity is the true faith. I've had a lot of questions about that, and some very strong doubts in that regard, you know. So, what is better than blindly following, truth claims of a religion that you have no proof of? I would say that if you ask God for logical wisdom and understanding, that is in fact superior to blindly following truth claims you have no proof of. So if God can supply you with logical arguments to establish the truth of like different things such as morality, then you can actually be a disciple of your understanding, that you become obedient to your understanding of God and of the things of God, and you put those things into practice which you comprehend. So to be a disciple, that doesn't make you a follower of a literal being who exists. What you're doing is you're putting into practice your understanding of the things of God, and especially absolute morality, laws of morality, which I do believe exist. It's just a question of properly defining them and coming to the conclusion of what they are. So that's why it's necessary to seek God for wisdom that is logical, or perhaps even something greater than logic and reason, I don't know. But it can't be faith, because every religion has faith, and they can't all be true. Same thing for signs and wonders and miracles. All the religions have their signs and wonders and miracles, in my view, so they can't all be true on that basis. So you have to have something logical from God to confirm the truth, and especially laws of morality. Like, is murder a sin? Because you definitely want to know about that and have that confirmed in many logical ways, if possible. And you don't want to commit that sin if it is a sin, because in my mind, it is quite likely that there is justice for doing that, for sinning like that. And I don't know, I don't claim to know what that justice is. I used to think it was an eternal hell, when I was a Christian, but these days, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not really sure about exactly if an eternal hell is a just punishment for finite crimes. But, either way, you don't want to find out what the punishment is for doing something like that, So I would recommend seeking God for wisdom to comprehend what are the moral laws that are for humanity, and as opposed to relying on blind faith in some holy book to figure that out, because you have no proof of that stuff if you want to be really honest with yourself, So do become a disciple of the understanding that you have of God, which would exist in your mind. That's where God really exists, is in your mind. You can't really say that God exists anywhere else, because are scientists ever going to discover God in a laboratory or through their instruments? Or maybe the Hubble Space Telescope will discover God out there somewhere. I don't think that's ever going to happen. You cannot define God as something that exists, except really in your mind, through your understanding. That is where God exists, through potentially symbolic means, where you symbolize God maybe perhaps as a divine ruler, who is omnipotent, who rules over the universe, seated on a throne. Perhaps that is an example of symbolism to comprehend God. And but you have to ask God for wisdom to comprehend these kind of things. Like I said, you can't be a disciple of something that is not literally there. God, even the New Testament says God is spirit. So, it's just some stuff to think about. So seek God for wisdom and become a disciple of wisdom and understanding. Put wisdom into practice and be obedient.